than banks and other lenders for exactly the same rate. Don't light your hard-earned money on fire. Get started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval today by clicking on the blue button and put the money you'll save in closing costs towards something for your new home. That's ACCUNET.com.
Oh, got a good show today. Jeremy and Janine was on the first half hour. Now retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch joining us. I asked the question before the break. I want to just put a exclamation point in this conversation because this is a big one. This could actually happen right around the same day as the presidential debate, Mary, and that by itself is going to be an interesting twist on this.
You know, people have been asking me for the last week or two. I was back on the bench in the courthouse, and people like to talk and ask, judges, what do you think on some of these things? And one of the things that keeps coming up is it possible that this would actually happen while we have the convention here in RNC? Sure, anything's possible. The decisions have to be done by the end of the term. They don't have to release them right away because there's still work being done. So all the decisions have to be written and done by Friday, the 30th. I think that's the 30th or Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
That being said, can they go later? Can they release them later? Sure. Could it coincide with, and is there a likelihood? It might be because of the time that it's taking, I think, for this process to play out at the court. And what I mean by that, Steve, is that I believe that there's a third, as I said before the break, a third path, which is to do it very limited, very narrowly, say that under these facts, we find that there is no immunity. I'm being, I think, Pollyannish, thinking that they'll come up with that as the decision. I sure hope they do. But they could do a lot of harm if they come up with this grand proposal that is not supported by precedents, statutes, or anything that makes sense to the general public, to the legislators, and makes it even more confusing and goes to the credibility, the heart of our Supreme Court. I think John Roberts is trying to fight that with all of his power. The word on the street is that he is very disappointed in many of his colleagues because of the embarrassment they brought to the court and the institution which he loves.
Interesting.
I believe that he is going to push for the middle one, which is, if anything, that there is opportunity in a general sense, which I don't think anyone would really disagree with, for some actions that are taken when you're fulfilling your official duties under Article 2, but no immunity when you're doing things that are personal in nature. That being said, they may send it back down to Judge Chudnow at the 3rd District for what we call an evidentiary hearing and have her make some factual determinations. And once those are made, determine whether or not those fall under Article 2 behavior or if they're personal.
That pushes it out way into...
That will push it out beyond the scope. If they were to issue no immunity, do a narrow decision, throw it back down to her by the first 2 weeks in July, she's already indicated that she can clear her docket and do this, but she wants to give both sides about, I think, 90 days was what I last read. I think the New York Times did a thing on this weekend that said that she wants to give everybody a fair shot at presenting or getting their arguments ready for trial. That would necessarily kick this out to sometime in Labor Day weekend.
Bottom line here, could the Supreme Court and whatever decision they make muck up the waters even worse and make this one of those decisions like everybody's shaking their head? I don't know what they're doing here.
Yes, absolutely. I think if they go the route that I believe clearly Justice Alito, Justice Thomas, and Justice Gorsuch want. Gorsuch said on the record he wants to write a decision for the ages, meaning that this would clarify it for all time and be the precedent for it. I think that's a huge mistake. I think John Roberts and the more moderates on the bench, such as Justice Barrett and then the liberals, including Justice Sotomayor, who carries a lot of weight with the Chief Justice because of how brilliant a writer she is. I think that would create huge dissent, and it would create further discussion about maybe we ought to expand the makeup of the court, because if we're going to live with a 6-3 majority that's coming up with these kinds of decisions that even defy logic and what the public is expecting from that court, I think that could become a very hot topic in Congress, whether it could get done or not. I know there's some senators who are pushing for it to enlarge the scope of the court from currently 9 to something like 15 or 16. to avoid these kinds of issues.
Interesting days. We have to take a break here, but I want to get to some of the other cases quickly in the last segment with retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch. You're listening, of course, to the Political Power Hour on 620 WTMJ.
WTMJ's John Mercure here. Join me as we count down to the RNC in Milwaukee. We'll talk to the biggest names across the political landscape.
It's going to be Donald Trump's convention, right? I mean, he's the nominee, so he will probably, and his team, have a lot to say on what the messaging will be.
Full podcast available on WTMJ.com or text RNC to the Old National Bank talk and text line 855-616-1620 and get a link sent directly to you. It's the countdown to the RNC podcast, only here on WTMJ.
For your next exterior remodeling project, we know you're not asking a lot from us. You want the right products for your situation, you want a few different financing options that can make your project affordable, and you want us to do a good job with minimal disruption to your life. And this one's important. You want a warranty that matters. And we know that checking every box makes all the difference. You might be surprised at how many moving parts go into it, but we have just the right people in all the right places to pull that off every day and make it look easy. The company we have took us 21 years to build. It's an awesome place to work because we never stop improving it. And we think we can do this work so well that we can actually change the reputation of exterior remodelers long term. This is Brad Youngluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
Ask about our finance options.
State Fair is right around the corner. Snag your tickets now at wistatefair.com for only $14. Sale ends June 30th. Summer's here, and we know you'll be feeling good at the Wisconsin State Fair, presented by U.S. Cellular, August 1st through the 11th.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano inviting you to spend New Year's at sea and offering you an amazing deal if you book the Vinny Cruise now. Join my family and me on Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas, a Western Caribbean cruise leaving December 29th. Right now you can save up to $875 per person if you book through my partners, Expedia Cruises Brookfield. It's the only place you can get this deal right now. We'll stop in Mexico, Honduras, Royal Caribbean's private island in the Bahamas, and let's spend some time together. A welcome cocktail party for our group, dinner, a full group excursion on Roatan Island, a day of sloths, monkeys, zip lining, snorkeling, and a delicious local island-style lunch included. Our group from Wisconsin rings in the new year then together at sea. Enjoy Christmas here at home, and then let's set sail for the trip of a lifetime. Couples, bring the kids, or grandma and grandpa. How about bringing the entire family? Email me for more information from Expedia Cruises Brookfield. Vince at WTMJ.com. That's Vince at WTMJ.com.
We don't avoid phone calls. We don't not call people back. We don't try to figure out ways not to take care of something.
Ben and Arvid from Penny Mustard Furnishings.
So many times you hear about, that item had a 1-year warranty on it. It's 13 months. Sorry.
We wouldn't bat an eye. Our service team would call out and say, how can I help? I'll dig through the archives and figure out how to find that little broken handle, and I'll come up with a solution for you.
If the consumers knew what we do on the customer service end of things, they wouldn't hardly believe it.
PennyMustard.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a good karma brand station.
Retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch is my guest for a few more minutes. I want to quickly get to some of these cases. One of the big ones that's going to come out this week, hopefully, is the U.S. Supreme Court is deciding, can people be banned from sleeping outdoors? We see this epidemic across this country of people just camped out everywhere. And this is looking at issues like cruel and unusual punishment to remove people. We see it in Milwaukee, not to the degree we see it in Seattle or San Francisco, other West Coast cities that have better weather, let's be honest. What do you think the court might do on this?
This is one of the real tough ones because it involves so many non-legal questions. They're more ethical or moral questions, or what we as a society will tolerate or not tolerate in our communities. This weekend, I can tell you, I saw for the first time in probably about 4 or 5 years, tents, not only down at the lakefront, but also starting to go up where they go under the freeway system.
I've noticed that over the last half year or so, that there used to be one maybe or none. Now there's 6 or 8 or 12.
Let me put it in these kinds of terms. It's the same kind of issue that we deal with under our disorderly conduct laws, which is that if your behavior, for instance, if you're panhandling outside of the Pfister, and you're menacing or threatening in some way? Will law enforcement be called? Yeah, our businesses want to be able to have the citizens come freely in and outside without being harassed or asked for funds. You also see it in a very dangerous way, I think, for those that are doing it, which is you've got the walking undiagnosed and untreated mentally ill, who are everybody who drives in downtown will see them at different intersections as you get off ramps, or if you're going onto an on ramp on the freeway system, and they're holding up various signs and so forth. And your heart wants to do something for them. On the other hand, they're rushing out into traffic where people are accelerating to get on or off the freeway. It's a danger to traffic. It's a danger to them.
Quickly, abortion. Can doctors provide emergency medical abortions in states that have banned abortion?
I believe that the Supreme Court's going to rule that that's going to be allowed. And the reason I believe that is because some of the toughest questions of the lawyers who were proposing this at the Supreme Court was asked by some of the conservative justices, including a very pro-life justice in Justice Coney Barrett. She had serious issues with the logic behind their position, and thought that the reasoning for it was very disingenuous, that somehow doctors would be fearful to do it because they could be prosecuted under the law. And so you want to have safety for them. And she said, what examples can you bring? Do you have any doctors that have actually been threatened with prosecution because of delivering these services?
Real quick, social media, Texas and Florida have a much different interpretation of how social media platforms should regulate content. A lot of people think if the Supreme Court says anything goes, it just opens the floodgates for all kinds of content that we may not be comfortable with, but might, for First Amendment free speech arguments, make the case, right? This one
I'm a little worried about. This one I believe that the Supreme Court has a libertarian streak to it in the persons of Alito and Gorsuch and Thomas. And they, for the same reasons that they came up with for allowing, in what I believe is a horrible decision on gun stocks, which is the bump stocks that you can attach to a non-semi-automatic weapon and turn it into a thing that can act like a machine gun.
Like the Las Vegas shooting, which got all the attention.
Exactly. And he had several of them, and we had a case recently in Milwaukee where someone was caught with one.
We got to leave it there, but we'll pick up the conversation. We have two legal experts on Thursday, and I think you're joining us next week. Retired Milwaukee County Judge Mary Kuhnmensch. Brilliant analysis, as always, and great to see your smiling face. The news is next on WTMJ.
If you need a place for new home interior ideas, then you have to come talk to us.